Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. You're at home with Melissa, where in this video I want to show you how to basically, if you have windows that have been painted shut and you want to open those, or if you have, as in this case, you have molding that's been painted directly to the wall or the doorway or whatever it is that it's attached to, and you want to remove that, you're going to use the same technique for both. What you want to do is you want to get yourself a nice sharp blade. Preferably one that's kind of strong, that doesn't bend in the middle a whole lot. See how this is nice and solid? You can use a knife, as I'm using. You can use another thing that works really well is one of those carpet cutters where the tip of the blade is pretty strong and it sticks out from the end of a sheath and you hold the sheath. You can use a kitchen knife, you can use whatever you want. I would advise against, however, using a really flimsy bladed box cutter, because you might have to put a little force behind it and you could just snap that blade off if you do that. What you want to do is you find the place. In the case of molding, it's going to be where the molding meets whatever it's attached to. Right there is a seam. You're going to find the place where that seam's been painted shut, or in the case of a window, where the edge of your window, the border of your window meets the window frame. Right in there, you'll see that your window has been painted to the frame itself. That paint essentially acts as a glue, keeps you from opening and closing the window the way you want to. So what you want to do is go between those two things, between the window and the frame, or between the molding and what it's attached to, and you want to just gently saw through the paint the whole way down, okay? Or in the window, in the case of the window, you're going to do it the whole way down each side, and you're going to do it on the top, the bottom, and make sure you check the outside as well. Once you've done every seam that you want to work on, every seam that's holding that window in place, or the seams for all the molding you want to remove, then you simply, in the case of the window, open it. If your only problem is that it's been painted shut, you've solved that problem at this point. Make sure your blade's nice and sharp, okay, to really cut through that stuff neatly. And remember that the more patience and care you take in doing this, the less you'll damage your paint job from the part, in the case of the molding. If you want to leave what the molding was attached to in place, you won't disrupt the paint there as much. And if you just want to open your window and not remove anything, it'll damage the paint on both sides as little as possible if you take the care, time, and use the patience necessary. I don't do that and end up with a big mess. So I probably will end up with a big mess when I'm done with this project, but you see how I'm having to kind of work that in there? And my apologies for the backlight. That is sunlight coming in, and I tried to block it as best I could. It did nothing. So your blade, you go through, you take care of everything. In the case of the windows, after you've cut through all the places it's been painted shut, you're done. It's no longer painted shut. If you try to open it and it still won't open, your problem now is not anymore that it's painted shut. You fix that. What's most likely happened is that the window or the frame around it has swollen. There we go, block that. The window or the frame around it has probably warped or swollen, and it's squeezing that window in place. Basically, your only options at this point for the window is to just use some muscle to push it up. You might need to get a crowbar at the bottom to lift it, in which case you are going to damage that bottom window sill when you try to lever it. Just using your arm force and strength, maybe take a hammer or a sledgehammer and just tap it gently. Remember, you're working with glass, you don't want to break it. And if you have old brittle windows and you're going to do the best you can not to break it, but think you might want to make sure to put on gloves, thick sleeves, face protection, or at the very least eye protection, in case that glass does break on you. Now, this sounds like really simple. That's all there is to explain it, and it's the method I always use for this. I'm sure there are others, but it's how I always do it. Now, in the case of the molding, Once you've cut through all the seams, now you take and you want to pry the molding away from what it's attached to. And odds are you don't have much space here. So you're not going to be able to fit a big crowbar like this in that little space, okay? I can't, but I could, if I don't care about making a big mess, chipping the wood or anything like that, I can just ram this in, maybe tap it with a hammer to get it in there, and then pry it free. I can do that if I want, or I can take this. Okay, as you can see, this looks just like a crowbar, except it's teeny tiny. I don't know if they're still called crowbars when they're little like this, or if they have their own name. I always just call them baby crowbars because I don't know. They're thinner, they're slimmer. You might be able to find somewhere just to slide that in between your two pieces of wood. And if you can't, it has this nice flat edge right there. You can just take some sort of hammer and gently tap it until it goes in between here. Then what you're going to do is you're going to pry it away from what it's attached to. If you were to pry it in both directions, forward and back, that would cause the nails holding this to the thing it's attached to move left and right, thereby increasing the width of the hole that the nails are in more quickly and more easily, and it would pry away from the thing it's attached to more quickly. However, if you don't want to damage this wood, you don't want to pull your lever in towards you. You don't want to pull your lever toward that wood, only pushing it away. And you might have to work at different spots the whole way along until you get some distance between the molding and what it's attached to. At that point, you're going to be happy you have your bigger lever or crowbar because you can just hulk it out of there. And you'll do that the whole way along until you've gotten your nails a bit away from the wood, and at that point it'll either pop off or you can pull it off very easily. And you'll repeat that process the whole way along whatever it is you're working on until you've removed it. Now in my case, as you can see, I have here a set of shelves, and on those shelves, which you can't see because of the light glaring off of it, is an aquarium. These shelves and the aquariums on them probably weigh 500 to 700 pounds, and they're directly leaning very much against the molding on the other side of the doorway that I also want to remove. See, that's it right there. And I want to, hey sweetheart, my one fish is saying hello to me. But I want to remove that, and that's going to be a trick because I'm probably either going to have to get help moving the shelves, or I might have to simply take a saw down between the molding and the wood it's attached to and saw through those nails. Not my favorite idea. I think I'd rather get the aquariums and the shelves that they're on pulled away from the wall a bit and just then do it normally as I would for the others. But you go through, follow the method, and you'll have very little problem getting rid of your problem of the painted shut windows or the molding you want to remove. So I'm going to go and I'm going to do mine, and I'm going to let you get on with your projects. Okay, those of you with the windows, happy opening. Thanks a lot, guys. Until next time, bye.